My fathers sit on benches. Their flesh count every plank. The slats leave dents of darkness deep in their withered flank, and they nod like broken candles, all waxed and burnt profound. They say, but sugar, it was our submission that made your world go round. There in those pleated faces I see the auction block, the chains and slavery's coffles, the whip and lash and stock. My fathers speak in voices that shred my fact and sound. They say, but sugar, it was our submission, and that made your world go round. They laughed to shield their crying. They shuffled through their dreams. They stepped and fetched a country and wrote the blues in screams. I understand their meaning. It could and did derive from living on the ledge of death. They kept my race alive by wearing the mask.
Welcome back to UN50. My name is BJ Council, and welcome back to our podcast. And hopefully you may have listened to some other ones in the previous one that we had. We're going to kind of continue with the mask that we wear as it relates to interaction with law enforcement, and maybe a little bit of experience that I have had back in the day, and my co-host, if they have anything. And then we're just going to kind of talk about interaction and compliance, what that might look like for some, may not look like, and then my perspective, and just see where it goes. So thanks for joining us today. And first off, I'll just kind of start with Andrew. I think most of you know who my co-hosts are, Andrew Council and Harmony Chavis. So what I'm going to do this time is a little different. Just go ahead and get started in the conversation as to asking Drew if he's ever had an interaction with the Popo.
Yes, I have. I think I was in high school, and I was in a park with a couple of my friends, and it was just getting dark. The sun was just setting. But I guess this is my first or second time in the park, so I didn't really know the rules beyond being at a park at night. But the cop pulled up to the parking lot, and as we were sitting on the benches inside the park on the tables, he came over and we were just sitting there talking and asked what we were doing. And I told him, and he told me, he said, not you, I want them to speak. And it was myself, another male and a female. But the male and female were brothers and sisters, and they were of mixed race. But you could tell they were of mixed race. But it kind of took me off by surprise because I had never had a bad interaction with a police officer. So I was in my head like, why did he just ask me? But after they explained it, we gave him our IDs. And then he asked us to leave because the sun was going down. So we were like, we don't want any trouble. We don't want to fuss and say the sun's not down yet. But we left and went home. But it kind of stuck with me for a long time because I was saying like, why did he stop me from explaining? Because I've always kind of been a little outspoken. So a Band-Aid on the issue. Just like, right. Please don't kill us. Please let's go home. That's about the only interaction that stuck with me the most.
Well, you got stopped recently. How was that?
I did what recently?
You got stopped for speeding.
Oh, I did. I forgot. I kind of put that in the back.
How did you forget?
How did you forget that? Yeah.
After that the court fee was paid, I kind of forgot. I didn't want to.
Had to, right? Probably felt sick every time you had to think about it.
I did, but I recently got pulled over for speeding at the end of last year. When I got pulled over, like my heart was racing a little bit, but I remember everything I was taught. So I was like, let me follow directions and do as I'm supposed to do. So I did what I was supposed to do, and he gave me the ticket anyway. I said, Lord, please let him give me a warning so that I can go back home. But I got everything settled and everything's fine. But I remember the thing that sticks with me the most is when I got home and I told my parents, I told my mom first because she's the calmer parent. And then I told my dad, and he was upset, but he said he wasn't upset because I got a ticket. He was upset that I had to go through that and endure that. And that kind of was very stuck with me a lot because he wasn't mad about me speeding. He was mad that I had to go through that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, cool. Harmony, what about you? Your interaction with the Popo?
I would say most of my interactions with the police have been unprovoked, at least from my perspective. But they've all been like relatively good. I remember I got pulled one time. BJ, I can see you rolling your eyes. I can see it. But like the one time I've been like pulled, like when I was driving, my tags had been expired for like almost a year, and I knew it was a matter of time. And he was so nice to me, and he was like, I could take your car in, but I don't want to do that. Like, here's a ticket, and he even told me how to get it thrown out.
Oh wow.
He was like, if you go get it done and you take it to, the court before your date, you won't have to show up and they'll throw it out. And they did. And I mean, he was so nice. And then, I had an interaction. BJ, you remember when I accidentally hit that man at Target? I mean, not Target, yes. Costco?
Yes.
Yes, I accidentally hit this man with my car. So the police came and I'm like, okay, like, what should I do? Like, they all call the police, but they're not here. Like, am I free to go? And he's like, yeah, you're fine. So, I've had pretty good interactions with police. There was only like one that was like kind of sketchy, but he was like security, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a police officer. So I mean, most of mine have been pretty positive actually, but I won't say that they're never nerve-wracking. Never not nerve-wracking. So like, even though they are positive, it still is equally as uncomfortable and nerve-wracking for me every time. Especially when being pulled over. You know what I mean? Like, the other interaction I had with 2 Raleigh police cops, they were like outside of a club. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't usually escalate there.
Right.
So, especially when being pulled over, even if I'm a passenger, I feel like sometimes it's even scarier as a passenger because, like, what could happen and you want them to be safe and calm. And really, the driver is like the spokesperson of the car. You know what I mean? Like, that's who the police is probably talking to. I know I see you making a face, BJ, but like, that's who they're talking to about, first they want to get their license and registration.
Right.
And I think that really, even all of the cases that I can think about, which is not a lot, but when there's a passenger along with a driver, it's usually the driver that gets killed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you get what I'm saying? Like, that to me it's almost like you feel very protective and you want them to be safe, but it's also difficult when you are the driver and you have to maintain that level of control. So yeah, it's still kind of scary, even though personally my experiences haven't been bad. And I think that that's the power of just this collective trauma between Black people and the police.
Yeah. It is scary. I mean, I've been stopped, believe it or not, once by the Popo.
Can they tell, like, okay, this is a really random question, but like, let's say, Bobby Jean is running your tags. Does it somehow indicate that you're retired law enforcement?
No, and I got stopped Chris and I were coming from a Christmas event from Raleigh, and they got pulled over on 40. Coming out of Raleigh PD. And I was in her car. We were together. We were in her car. We just left the concert. And there's nothing, I think I was either captain or a major. And I didn't bother to tell him who I was. Didn't say anything. He said it was during the holidays and usually they crank it up. He said I'd kind of changed lane abruptly and they were out there trying to obviously slow down aggressive drivers during the holiday. And I was like, okay. And gave him what I needed to give him, and he said, just do better, and sent me on my way. It's nerve-wracking. I mean, I suck there. I know it's not a comfortable feeling. I know that, and it's difficult to do that. So, being a police officer and the work that we do is, UN5 is trying to teach Black and brown folks how to safely interact and get home, because that's my ultimate goal. I need people to get to the house. But I also know that, I have during my career had people who resisted and believe it or not, at least as far as I'm concerned, I'm going, no, don't do that. Cause I don't really want to put my hands on you. I mean, seriously, I don't want to chase you. because I don't like running and I don't like putting my hands on people. So that's just like two things that I just want you to, I just want people to go, I have a warrant on you. Could you please come on? Let's go with me. Cause that's just part of my job. So, I mean, I've had to do that. I know that, one night, and this is full moons and a woman's intuition is something I am definitely a believer in. Not that I wasn't, but being a police officer on Pettigrew Street at 2:00 in the morning, stopped a drunk driver and knew he was drunk, pulled him over. And as soon as I got there, I could tell his demeanor that he was going to be a problem. And so I backed off of him and called for backup. And I went back before my backup got there and I began to get him out of the car. He started to struggle. And luckily, just as he was starting to struggle, I had backup. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean, so for me, it was like, I could tell it was going to be trouble. And I don't want it to be. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's just scary because you're mad at me because you're driving drunk and I caught you drunk and now you want to fight and beat me up.
Right. So, like, can you explain to us a little bit more of like, could you break that down for us? Like, when you got out of the car, like, I think it would be interesting and an educational experience to know, like, okay, what indicated that you needed to stop him, if you can remember, you know, what indicated to you other than, because I believe in intuition too, but like, were there any sudden movements that he made that made you feel uncomfortable? How long did you have to wait for backup? How long did it seem like it felt like you waited? You know what I mean? Like, what physical actions did he do? I just want to have like a better picture so I can understand the emotions. And I think that it would be good for listeners too, to be able to paint that mental picture.
Yeah. I mean, usually back then, I'm sure you're kind of riding around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, clubs are closing.
Okay.
Right? And so you're kind of in the area because, especially back during those times, was all about drunk driving because people just, before they kind of like, okay, I need to stop driving drunk. But people were still really driving drunk back then. And you knew, I mean, you would follow them for a while and then you would just, the way they were driving the vehicle, they kept weaving in the lane and all that kind of stuff. And so you pop the light on them and you call out where you are because it was on Pettigrew Street. And, so up near where the railroad crossing, where they do all the work with the train, and where the convenience store is, right up. Yeah. It was right there, and so I got out of the car and I asked him for his license, and he gave it to me, and I said, so I went back, ran him again, and I knew I could smell the alcohol on him, so I went back and I said, I'm gonna arrest you for DWI. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, but I'm and he was just, it was just, you could tell his body was starting to tighten up. And so
his body language
starting to tighten up. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to handle him by myself.
Right.
So I backed up and I said, I need a backup, and one was coming. And I decided, I waited for a few minutes, not a long time, but I waited. And then.
Was he out of his vehicle?
No, he's still inside. No, he's still inside.
Okay, so the whole time.
The whole time he's in the car because bottom line, I knew when he said he wasn't going to get out, I knew that I had to put my hands on him and pull him out, and I was not going to be able to do that by myself.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm not I've gained weight, but I was pretty small as far as my weight. So anyway, so as I got ready to get out of the car and I walked back, my backup was pulling up as I was getting to his door jamb. And I opened the door and put my hands on him. My backup was there, walking toward me as I'm starting to pull him out of the car, and he's struggling. And then and the guy, my colleague, just ran up and finished helping me pull him out of the car. He struggled, and because I had the backup, we were able to cuff him really quick and get him up and get him in the back of my car.
Okay, so I have a couple questions.
Not a lot of struggle.
So when you say, because there were two different points that I had questions about. So when you say you had to put your hands on him, like, did you give him another warning to say, look, like, you're going to jail. I need for you to get out of the vehicle. Like, did he get another warning? Like, and then how do you pull somebody out of a car? You know what I mean? Like, did you just reach in and grab him? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, as best I can remember, he got out. I mean, I put my hand on him. He came out, best as I can remember. But then he was just like, I'm not putting my hands behind my back. I'm not going to jail. It was just that. It wasn't
okay,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, yeah, you can get me out, and he's coming out, but you can tell it's like, I'm dragging my butt to get out of here because I really don't want to go with you. And then you could tell I'm not going to get his hands behind him.
He's not playing. Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to cuff him by myself. I mean, once I get him out of the car is when it really starts to go south. Because as long as he's in the car, everybody's safe. But once he starts getting out of the vehicle, then makes it very different. It's a whole different ball. And then, like I said, this is when women's intuition and full moons firmly, law enforcement will make you believe in those two things, like I don't know what.
So will social work.
Yeah, and you know, when people think about the video that I had, that Andrew looked at, it's a new video. It happened in April 2019. A Virginia State Trooper, he actually smiles into the camera while the young man's like, he got stopped, right? He got stopped by a female trooper for expired inspection, and guess he wouldn't get out of the vehicle, which I tell people, you got to get out of the car. You may not want to, but you have to get out of the vehicle. And as a police officer, I need you to know that, because I really do not want to put my hands on. But contrary, I mean, I know we got some officers out there that are just aggressive because that's just unfortunate for some of them. That's how they operate. But for the most part, we really don't want to put our hands on it. Once you start saying you won't get out of the vehicle, it's like, it's just, because it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And especially and you have to get out of the vehicle once you're asked to get out of the vehicle. So this video shows the guy saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting there. And it's like, but he's asked you to get out of the car. So the female trooper stops him. He refuses to get out of the car. And then the male trooper gets there. And then his stuff kind of kicks in. He's like, I'm going to whoop your ass. You're going to get, and it's like all of that is just extra that does not need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that state trooper, it's just the comments. Yes, the guy didn't get out of his car. He should have gotten out of his car. You know, and he's saying in the video, I'm not doing anything. But once they ask you to get out of the vehicle, you have to. And that's the part that's frustrating for me when I do these workshops. If nothing else, you got to get out of the car because it's going to go south real quick. But this officer was just a lot. You know, I think he's just. What did you think about the video, Andrew? State Trooper one.
I wouldn't like you said. I wish that he had have just simply complied, but then I think like the officer's reactions and response to his actions was a lot too, and I don't know how I would react because I get anxiety quick, and my brain just kind of just like shuts down. I don't know what's going on, so I can't imagine being in either one of those situations.
Yeah, it's stressful for everybody. It's stressful for everybody. And the officer, you know, looking at the video camera, telling people, y'all getting ready to watch a show. I mean, that just makes it bad for every other trooper that doesn't act like that. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, he's making it bad for everybody else. It's like, and then the young man behind the car is turned out, based on another article that I did a follow-up on, his license was suspended. So, you know, part of.
So did the young man pass away, or what happened?
No. He's okay. He's okay.
Was he shot or
no
anything, or it was just a problematic interaction?
It was problematic interaction. He grabbed the trooper grabbed him by his neck and pulled him out of the car. It's just problematic. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So okay. Yeah, it happened in 2019, and he decided to release it now, which is fine. So
gotcha. Okay.
The officer is unprofessional. And, you know, like you said, you know, off camera, you know, it's not so much to kind of always put the blame, but I guess for me, I need people to get home. And if it's simply you stepping out of the vehicle when you've been asked to do that, because you could have got an officer that went, you ain't get out of the car, I'm just going to shoot you. And that's just it's not worth it. And then it's just, I don't know. I want black folks to go to the house. And I don't want to always put I think sometimes Sticky, and I don't know, Harmon, you may not like this, but Sticky replies to, I think, on both sides sometimes. Do you just gotten out of the car when the female trooper stopped, it probably would have been fine. Just give her a ticket, do what you got to do, and go on about your business. But now you got this male backup that's feeling himself. He's all up in his, I'm getting ready to show you all this, and now here we go.
Can I add something and ask a question to both of you? I guess like something that, as we were talking about, the piece that was written by Maya Angelou, something that kind of just ran through my brain right then was, I think of sort of kind of in my brain, I know that if I was in the same situation as the young male was, in the video that we watched, I know that a mask would come on my face as fear and as a compliance as well too, because although I may not realize that I'm not doing anything wrong, I know that I have to do this because I may lose my life. That part of me is the word submissive it has a different connotation than what I want to use, but it's like I'm complying because I know if I don't, I may have a chance of losing my life. And although like the mask that you're putting on may be like, I'm doing this just because of this. And even though I know I'm not doing anything wrong, I have to. If that makes sense. What do y'all think about that in a sense?
Yeah, to me, it makes a whole lot of sense. And, it's almost like I understand what you mean when you say that the word submissive has the wrong like connotation and context for what you're trying to say, because it's almost, we're humans, right? So we rely on data. And if we've been told, or if it's been illustrated personally in your interactions with the police to comply, this is how you get home, it would make sense that would be people's assumption, right? Like, because we are people of data, and that would be what we refer to a lot of the times. So like, I definitely understand like UBJ saying, just comply, like make it easier on yourself. Totally get that. And I think that both parts can exist, where police need to and should do a better job of de-escalating situations. And we can also say that in certain situations where people have not complied, they should have. And yeah, both dualities, in my opinion, can exist at the same time without negating the fact that police in this country have got to do better. And I don't think any of us support the behavior that's been going on. So yeah, I think that both can exist at the same time.
I appreciate you saying that. I think what I struggle with as I go around trying to do this work is standing in a facility, a detention facility full of black and brown male faces, right?
Right.
And I do this stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I show these videos where, black bodies are being abused and they're being killed. Yet those young black male bodies in these detention centers still say to me, I'm still going to run. So that's just, difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
As a human being, and trying to figure out a way to save these young lives who may, have made this mistake in that moment, who may end up being the person that saves the world, if they can just get through this moment. But right now, for them, and obviously the people in the spaces that they move in, that running is a valid choice. Even though they see the consequence, what the consequences could be. And for me, I really struggle with that, because I just don't think that should be an alternative.
Right. To me, I think like in response to what you said, I've seen in certain, there was a video not too long ago, about a little boy was outside playing basketball and a cop car drove past and he hid behind the car. And to me, that just denotes the connotation that police have in some communities as to if I know if I try to outrun the police, I may live longer, or I may not lose my life, because I'm trying to outrun them, because it's such a negative connotation that some police have in some communities.
Yeah. I actually use that video now to start off my presentations, to really just drive home. This is where we are. We're a 10-year-old in his own driveway, hides behind his dad's car as a police car drives down. I mean, this is how impactful this is having on young black minds. And that's just huge. And then for people to say that they don't, Harvey, like you were saying, we shouldn't have to tell white people what's going on. I mean, just look at the fact that this 10-year-old black male is having to stop playing basketball in his own driveway because he sees the police car. It's like, what does that say about society, equality, the system? It just, so yeah, Harmony saying that the new presentation, but I use that just to say, if you don't get anything else, you just need to understand why is it that this black kid in his own driveway is hiding behind a car just simply because a police car rides down the street. It's just, we shouldn't even be here. We should not be here.
Yeah, it can be so exhausting when, you know what I mean? When you talk about it, when you live it, when you try to work against it, like, it's so exhausting sometimes. So, just a reminder to you and to myself it's okay to turn it off. It's okay to be unengaged. Because like I said before, it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. And we've got to be in it for the long haul.
I know. It's not a marathon, right? And then, like I think you said, we got to take care of ourselves, right? So how do we do that? Because you were kind of saying you weren't really feeling it today. So how are you guys coping? Because you're right. Because yes, I can't say that I'm not looking at the news and what's going on, and that's trauma to me. It's traumatic. Some people it may not be traumatic, but to me, it's creating trauma on me physically. So how are you guys handling that? I mean, I think we've talked about it. We've got links on our website for people who may need, assistance or counseling and stuff like that. But how are you guys handling all this stuff that seems to be hurting other humans?
A whole lot of Prozac and therapy once a week.
And as an inside joke, and 8. The number 8.
What'd you say?
The number 8. Inside joke. To you, Harmony.
I don't know if I was like, I don't know if I'm okay, I get it now. So yeah, a whole lot of Prozac, weekly therapy, trying to practice a lot of self-compassion, because that's hard. I'm really bogged down by this like capitalistic system that says that we're supposed to be productive every moment of every day. And I'll be honest, like, it takes pretty much all I have in me to muddle through the day. You know what I mean? I'm not being the most productive person. So I know that I have to get away from like this need to be constantly productive, to have my worth lie in what I'm able to produce and how fast and at what success rate. And, I'm trying to step away from that, but I've been feeling a lot of guilt for not being as productive as I want to be, or as involved as I wish that I could be. Right. So I'm just trying to be more compassionate towards myself and gracious towards myself and other people, because these are really uncharted and unprecedented times for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Even like people that had like normal, I don't want to say normal lives, but like people that don't struggle with mental health issues, like, so it's even more difficult for people that are dealing with like depression, anxiety, PTSD. Like, it's just, it's a hot mess. Like I said earlier, it's a hot mess. So yeah.
What about you, Drew? How are you dealing?
I guess I'll revert back to my common sayings of just trying to stay alive, really. I take my mental health very seriously. So if I sense in some way that your energy, someone's energy is not, not right at this moment, or you're going to disturb mine in a way, I kind of ask you to take a break from me real quick so that I can have my time to recenter myself and rebalance myself. I have anxiety, and I am fully aware of it, and I'm open with it because I hope that I in an empathetic way, I can help someone else. But, it's not, my anxiety hasn't been bad. So like recently, but I know sometimes at work, or sometimes as I'm just walking, just random sad thoughts will just come through my brain because of just what society is going through, then the weight of life as well too. Sometimes it hits me at work. I mentioned in a previous podcast, I think that like sometimes my boss can see it. I mean, I work as an intern, but she goes, "Are you okay?" She asks me that frequently. And sometimes I'll tell her yes. And just because I don't want to go into that deep conversation about say, no, I'm not. But sometimes I just say it's a lot going on today, just in general. Sometimes I'll listen to the news and read the news in the morning. And sometimes the weight hits me more than it does, more than it should, I guess. But I'm just trying to, when I say I'm trying to stay alive, it just means I'm just trying to keep myself balanced and work through the things that are going on, I guess, in the world. Someone taught me it's easier to go through than it is to go around.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, both of you, we've talked about it pretty freely as far as just figuring out what it is we need to do self-care. I mean, I try to back off of being in this discussion a lot because I'm constantly researching and looking at stuff. Our producer was sending me videos and I need to have to push pause to not look at it because it's, as we said before, it's exhausting. And, for me, the main thing is get my head out of the news. And then, I've never been one that's been able to sleep very well. So I'm trying to do my best to listen to meditative music at night and and have some guided meditation in order so I can get some good sleep. Because for me, if I get good sleep, I do better. But if I don't, I get anxious. I think, I'll just all of a sudden just start crying during the day because of stuff. You got to figure out how to navigate them. Yeah, it's a lot. But, the thing is, I think that's why, we want to try to be here for folks to talk about whatever it is, that might help them navigate, law enforcement or just, space, where you can get some help. Cause like I said, we have those links, available, on social media, Guru, Abby Gratitude, push that out there for us to make sure, that we're available. I think, Harmony, have you done a blog lately? I know that you do a blog. I don't know if you've done one lately because she's real. What I love about Harmony.
I've not.
Yeah, you haven't done anything lately?
No, I haven't. So,
okay.
I've been really good about posting stuff, and I was posting from my travels, but no, I've not. I've not. But I do feel called to write something. So, when I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, just check. Her link is on there too. And I think that what I was going to say about Harmony and, our relationship is one of the things that I really love is that she's free about expressing and my nephew too about, mental health. It's all about self-care and putting ourselves out there. So it's okay because it's a lot. And Black people got to understand. I think we've said this before in previous podcasts. It's okay if you're not feeling well physically or mentally, because it's just a lot going on, and it's okay to seek help. It is okay to not be okay, because right now in this moment, there's a lot of people not okay. I'm not okay, and I think my co-hosts would probably say they're really not okay, but they're figuring out a way to make it okay and get through this. And I would encourage those that listen that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Harmony, am I kind of hitting that the way you think I should be hitting that?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I kind of have to defer to you because you're the, kind of got that social worker brain and all that. You kind of keep us guided on stuff. And I know Andrew does too. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you guys tuning in. You may have heard a little piece of Maya Angelou's "We Wear the Mask" at the beginning, but the link there that you can listen to the entire thing. And I think what we're talking about is just sometimes in order for us to navigate the things that we do, like Andrew just mentioned, his boss might say, "Are you doing okay?" And then today you might have the mask on. Yeah, I'm okay, but underneath the mask it's really not. So just having to figure out what that looks like for everybody. So Andrew, you got any last words?
I just wanted to echo something that Harmony said about being productive and stuff. Just to anyone who's listening, it is okay if you just stay in bed and watch Netflix because your brain has been working 24/7. So take a break. That's all.
Cool. I like that. Harmony, any words of wisdom?
I don't really have any words of wisdom, but I definitely will say, like, even just hearing Drew say that it's okay because your brain's been working. Like, sometimes I think because I'm not physically doing tasks, I discount the amount of work that my brain does. So yeah, it's always reassuring and comforting to know that I don't have to do it all. I don't have to save the world today. And that, if all I can do is watch Netflix today, which is pretty much all I did, that for today, that is enough. So thank you for that poignant reminder, Drew.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again for tuning in to UN50. My name is BJ Council, and we appreciate it. Check out our Facebook website and our
BJ, you're being old. You're forgetting Instagram.
Instagram. Thank you. I did forget that. And
do you have a Twitter?
I have
a
Twitter. Yeah, only because Abby makes me have one.
Well, shout out to Abby for keeping you relevant.
I know. She is definitely keeping me relevant. That's for sure. All right. So thanks, everybody. And as always, stay well and peace.